Okay. Things are getting ready to happen. Well, they're happening. We are live. All the platforms are announcing our attendance, and people are jumping on. Yeah, my notification from my calendar says now is the time. Actually, it says 30 minutes from now is the time, because we're actually starting a little early. We're starting early because we're on the air with Jerry Agar, News Talk 1010, in about 5 minutes, maybe 4. And we will see what there is to see, to say, to do. Yeah, it's cool. I wish there was a way to make this chat window bigger. That's what I want. Anyway, we got lots of stuff to stuff. We have lots of stuff to stuff. We have lots of stuff to talk about today. And, of course, this is an extra large episode. Where's my pen? Extra large episode because we are starting here now and in 4 minutes with Jerry Agar talking about a couple of things. And I think you're going to want to stick around to hear what we have to say. It's talking about, well, two things. ALPRs, the automated license plate readers. Yeah, that's coming out. We're going to be talking about the video I put up yesterday. We're talking about pedestrian safety, talking about the fact that 197 pedestrians have been struck in the city of Toronto since January 1st. So that's a big thing. Good morning. Hang on a sec. The News Talk folks have just jumped in.
Only on
Good morning.
CTV.
How you doing?
Whenever you've needed us, federal public service workers have been here for Canada.
Okay.
We deliver the
We'll keep them
services
low in the
you
background
rely
until they're ready
on
to
through
talk.
this crisis and the next.
But we're talking about
But for
those.
nearly
what
2
else are we
years,
talking
we've been
about?
on the
We're
front
talking
lines
about
without a contract.
whatever
That's
this
a
audience
big
brings up.
problem
That's what
because
we're
while the
talking
government
about. It's gonna be
stalls on
good.
making
It's always
things
fun to
right,
hang out with Jerry,
we
so,
all pay the price.
Come on in.
Workers
and,
can't wait.
Stick around for a while. Of
None
course,
of us
we
can.
Are only spending 30
Learn
minutes
more
with
at
them.
workerscan'twait.ca,
We'll then continue on right till
a
11
message
o'clock
from the Public Service
with you,
Alliance of
focused
Canada.
on you, because it's all about
When we look
questions
into
and
your
answers.
eyes,
Now
we want to give you the
are
whole
gonna be,
world.
Running.
But that's not a viable
really,
business model.
really
So
slow
instead, we're
today, 'cause
offering you
I'm
complete
solo. I have
glasses
nobody,
from only
transferring
$69.
questions from the chat. Good
At
morning, Paul.
Specsavers,
We have nobody
we
transferring
believe quality
procedures down
eyewear
to
and
the
eye
folks.
care should be
So,
affordable to all.
Yeah, we're going to take it a little slow.
Which is a little
We're gonna do it
thing
right
we
from
call
from the chat. We're gonna do-
Specsavers love.
Take our time.
Find out
If you have
more at
questions, because we're currently broadcasting
specsavers.ca.
on TikTok, YouTube,
Conditions
Twitch,
apply.
LinkedIn,
Select pairs
Facebook.
only.
We're on Instagram Live. We're
Are
on
you
Twitter.
exploring
Twitter can't ask
senior
us
living
questions, so if you're on
options for
Twitter, go to
yourself or a loved
trafficcop.ca
one?
and jump onto one of our
Chartwell
other platforms.
Grenadier offers a
And,
vibrant and
we're 30
supportive
seconds away from going
lifestyle
live.
in
Very cool.
Toronto's desirable High Park
30
neighborhood.
seconds going live with the
Explore
folks
their
from News Talk.
well-appointed
As
suites
soon as these
and a
commercials are
wide
done,
variety
bring
of
up the volume,
flexible
we'll deal with that.
services so you can lead the
Really? You can't hear me over the radio? It's so low. Here we go. Silence before we start.
Sorry about that, Sean. The ad should be out of your ear now. My
They
bad.
are perfect. Thank you. Okay, so as soon as Jerry pops into our ears, we'll know that we're ready to go. But background noise, really? How much background noise? LinkedIn user who might be Andrew or might be somebody else is saying I have background noise. Okay, good. Adjusted the volume. It's all about you. We've got to make it good for you. So, Akela, good morning to you. And what else can we talk about while we're just doing the little dance? Hey, a Q&A functionality is not a thing with TikTok in this wide format setting, which I kind of like. I missed the Q&A, but I like having the wide format. We're also Volley, and thanks to Chase, who may or may not be here to know that I added the logo for Volley app in the bottom right there. So if you're trying to watch us on Twitter and want to ask us questions, jump onto one of the other apps or go to Volley. TikTok or trafficcop.ca is the link to get there. All right. All right, cool. Really, I didn't realize how loud they were. Cool. We're gonna adjust the volume so we don't blow you out of the park. We'll see what's going on. Just a few minutes. Probably about that. It's that countdown till we're on the air. And lots of folks jumping in on TikTok. Good morning to you. We're going live with News Talk 1010, and we will be answering your questions because that's what we do. We answer your questions. Oh, I should change the art. Look at this. I have fancy art. If you want to call in, here's the number: 416-872-1010 or 71010 for texts. And you can jump into the mix.
Jerry Agar continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Thanks for being along. Sean Shapiro is a constable, Toronto Police Traffic Services. He's on TikTok on a regular basis answering people's traffic questions at Traffic Services. And we dip in maybe once every couple of weeks and become part of his show. He becomes part of ours. I call him the TikTok Traffic Cop. Sean Shapiro, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you. Let's start with this before we get to some calls and some texted in questions. What is this rollout of license plate scanning technology?
Well, the technology isn't really new. We've been using it for a long time to locate stolen vehicles, but now it's being deployed really to check for valid licenses, to check to see if people have warrants or suspended licenses. Any license plate that's being flagged, the system will automatically read the plate.
Did you say auto-magically?
Yeah, I like making up words.
That's a good word.
But it's a great system, and it will not only make it safer for officers to not have to type in the license plate while they're operating a vehicle, but it'll alert them. So there was a video that went up yesterday with Carrie Schmidt, and I believe in a short span of about 30 minutes, they had over 30 vehicles that were violators flagged to their system.
Wow. Out of how many that they would have encountered?
That I don't know. They were pulled over at the side of the road, and you can hear on their video the chirp chirp of every notification.
Wow, and it could just be didn't update the license tag, because you still have to update that even though you don't get the tag. Go to Service Ontario and get that done. But it could be something as, I will say, benign as that, or it could be a much more egregious situation.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of folks who are still misunderstanding. There's no sticker. There's no cost involved with renewing, but you do have to go online. You have to pay off any of the fines that you may have on your license. But at that point, you can renew for no cost. There's no sticker sent off, and it's all done. 1 or 2 years, and they'll even let you sign up for automatic notifications to tell you when it expires next.
Well, if that technology is going to have a traffic officer that busy, I mean, you can't even deal with 30 drivers in half an hour.
Well, it logs them as being notified. Obviously, the officer has to be available to respond. So if they're driving and they see something, they can then take necessary steps to deal with them.
All right. At 416-872-1010 or 877-518-5151 to call toll free. Here is Jim from London. What's your question, Jim?
I'm on a one-way street, and I missed the turnoff or the driveway, and I back up and get into an accident, and the guy rear ends me. Is that just an insurance claim, or would someone be charged?
Well, you're going down the wrong way. It depends on if you're backing up a foot or if you're backing up a kilometer. Really going to be depending on the observations. Listen, the vehicle that rear-ended you has to pay attention to what you're doing and what they're doing. There could be charges laid if police attend. If it goes to a collision reporting center, unlikely that charges would be laid, but the fault would likely be the vehicle that drove into you, even if you're backing up, if you're doing it safely.
As a side note, Jerry, for the officer, the cameras now for the license plates, do you also go through parking lots and just read all the license plates like they do in the States?
So we have a parking unit that has these cameras, and it's been deployed for a long time. It's called the Street Sweeper, and it goes driving through streets looking for stolen vehicles. I don't know if they do it on private property or not. That said, that's been used for a long time, and it looks for stolen vehicles. I don't know what the deployment will be with these new systems. They are not full rollout on our cars yet.
Here is Michael from Oshawa. What's your question?
Hi. So I just bought a brand new BMW yesterday. I picked it up last night.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's the 2021 BMW 330i. Everything's stock. It doesn't even have window tints. Everything looks brand new. I brought the car home. My mom was sitting in it, just revving the engine, and it started popping and banging from the exhaust. I'm not sure if that's okay or legal, because I know with my other cars I used to have a while ago, any type of loud, excessive exhaust sound I was getting pulled over for. So it has the mufflers on, it has the res on. I just bought the vehicle. I'm concerned about getting pulled over.
I understand.
Ticket. Yeah.
I get where you're going. So if you're creating unnecessary noise by revving your engine and it's creating those pops and bangs, it could be considered unnecessary. You could be charged for that. It's a $110 fine. Even though it's stock, the driving behavior can cause excessive or unnecessary noise. So if you're driving it normally, it probably shouldn't do all that popping and banging. And it is a tune. It's something that I think is being manufactured into the vehicle now. It's not necessary. So you might want to talk to, if it's really excessive, you might want to talk to BMW about it.
Yeah, I've said that, Sean, and thanks for the call, but I've said that in relation to motorcycles. You know, technically, my pipes are a little loud. They're the ones that were on there when I bought it as a used bike, and I probably would be happier with something a little quieter, but I've never had any trouble because I go out of my way to try to keep it quiet as I'm pulling out of a neighborhood. I don't sit at a red light and rev up the engine and that kind of stuff, because it's more about the behavior than it is about the equipment.
Well, it's both. If you had no baffles in those pipes, it would be creating unnecessary noise regardless of how you drove. If you are, driving responsibly, chances are you're not going to be bothered. And then there's defect or behavior, and it really does change the dynamics of the situation.
Here is Steve from Aurora. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Sean. Sean, I just had a question for you with these new license plate reading cameras. What happens with the data, like the location data of where that license plate was scanned or anything like that? I'm concerned about surveillance.
Well, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know if it's logging it or if it's just alerting, and I imagine it's just alerting. I don't think the data pipeline is there to monitor everybody.
All right, thanks for your call. But I want to take a second because I'm also watching the text board, and I've gotten a tremendous number of text messages as soon as we talked about the license plate scanning technology. Welcome to the police state, that kind of thing.
Well, here's the thing. It's there to identify people who are breaking the rules, whether it be, criminal or just Highway Traffic Act. If you're staying on top of things, you're not going to have an issue. Just following the rules, there's no problems there. Now, additionally, if you're pulled over, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a ticket. It means you're going to have somebody who says, hey, by the way, your license plate's expired. It doesn't necessarily have to go to charges. That's going to be discretion of the officer.
Here is Jim from Hamilton. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm pretty good with the Highway Traffic Act, but the one thing since driving school over 40 years ago that has always confused me is when you can and cannot do a U-turn.
U-turns are the magical mystery. You can do a U-turn where it's safe to do so and not signed otherwise, except for a couple of places where it's absolutely prohibited. And those are, in front of a bridge, viaduct, railway crossing, crest of grade where there's no visibility, curve where there's no visibility. All the places where you really shouldn't be doing a U-turn, they're just spelling it out inside the Highway Traffic Act. But if you do it, and something happens, you're responsible. You're in a turning movement, and you're always responsible in that movement. But it can be done, and it can be done legally. Of course, if there's a sign present, you can't do it for another 150 meters beyond that sign.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Here's a question that somebody just sent in, and then I lost my place on the text board here. It was a deal here. I got rear-ended last night, took pictures and swapped info with the driver. Minimal damage to my new car. So we left the scene with the plan to go to the collision reporting center, which I'm doing this morning right now. Were we also required to call the police, and will I get in trouble for not doing that?
No. So here's the deal. If the collision total damages of all vehicles involved is under $2,000, police don't have to be notified. If you're going to a collision reporting center, you're taking care of that. And yeah, if there were injuries, if there was criminality, you'd need to call police right there. But there's no issue with going to a collision reporting center for such a minor situation. Now, you did all the exchanging of information. That's what's required. If someone refused to do that, that's a call to police. If someone says, I'm not giving you my information, they're legally obligated to do that. So it sounds like you've done everything correct, and you won't be getting into any trouble for going in after the fact. Now, if you don't go back for a month, that's a different story than going back the next day.
Well, how long do you have?
Well, technically it says forthwith, but I can tell you that the reporting center is understanding of the fact that 24, 48 hours is not unreasonable. In fact, if we are in a situation where it's a horrible storm, we're going to tell people, don't come in until after the weather gets better. We don't want you getting into a collision because you're trying to report your collision.
I'm with Sean Shapiro, TikTok traffic cop. He's on TikTok every day. At Traffic Services is where you find him answering traffic questions, but we're doing it here, and he's going to stay for another segment. So it's 416-872-1010. If you are calling long distance, you don't want to charge, do 877-518-5151, 877-518-5151, and you can text us at 71010. More in a moment with Sean Shapiro on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Awesome. These are
9:45. News Talk 1010. Time saver traffic.
We're dealing with delays out of Burlington, causing quite a jam on
the so we don't listen to the ads while we're in the break. So I think it's about 4 minutes for the break. I've not been trying. I've not actively been ignoring you, but that's why we do an hour and a half instead of an hour. While we're on with the radio, I got to focus on the radio, and undoubtedly, Jerry will say, what's going on TikTok? And I'll have to say, I've been ignoring TikTok. But yeah. So let's have a quick look and see if I can't get some questions that you've been asking. If you're watching and you want to get involved, ask questions. That's how this works. If you're watching on TikTok, I'm monitoring the chat, although loosely. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm going to get your questions right on my screen. So just drop a comment in there and we'll talk to you. If you're on Twitter, you don't actually get to talk to us. That's not because we don't want to talk to you. It's that it doesn't work. So go to trafficcop.ca and jump onto one of our other channels. And of course, you can also use Volley. Volley allows you to do all those things. You can. If you're watching on TikTok, by the way, we're doing this widescreen thing, which you may or may not like. If you want to have a bigger picture, look at the button in the bottom right-hand corner. Yeah, button right there. If you hit that button, it will change the orientation so that you can watch it horizontally widescreen. And you can still get the chat on the right-hand side. You can even make the chat disappear. I like it. I think it's cool. I don't know. I want to know what you think. I miss having the Q&A functionality, but I don't miss, having to have I don't miss having the little box. Now, Instagram Live, it's still the little box, but I see a question coming in from Instagram Live. Which M license can you drive with two-wheel sports motorcycle? Your M license. With an M license, you can drive any motorcycle, including three-wheeled motorcycles, but there are designations that restrict you to only three-wheeled. So you'd have to look at if you have one with a designation, like an M2, is it called an ML? I think L is for the either low power, and then there's another one that deals with, I don't deal with these licenses with I've had my M since I was 16. I just don't know. Gab, thanks for the follow. And what is this? Oh, Michael's asking about I wonder if Michael was the person who called in because I didn't record your name. How do I know it's legal? If it's brand new and it's just without you touching it, it's probably legal. If you start revving it up and causing those pops, that could be an issue. I would talk to them. I would ask them if that's something it's something that seems to be that people want to sound cool with the pop, pop, fizz, fizz, or whatever leaf it is. Yeah, I would tune that out. I think it's a horrible noise. I don't like it at all. We have, I think might be possibly Andrew coming in from LinkedIn with high security settings. If I have a dog and it runs onto the street causing a crash, who is at fault? I've never heard of a dog owner being sued, but I imagine you would be responsible for not having your dog on leash. I don't know if you'd be liable for paying for the damages, but you'd certainly be the catalyst of the collision. I don't have a good answer for you for that, but I am going to be. I'm talking to some friends at the insurance bureau. It's a bureau or board? IBC. I have it here. Wait, let's see. I want to make sure I'm saying the right name. IBC. Insurance Bureau of Canada. See, I'll ask them that question because from a insurance perspective, that's something that they'd be good to answer. And from the flip side, charges. We don't determine what happens in terms of money. The police investigate and they write down what happened, and then they charge anyone that has the appropriate charges available to be late. Like if you do something that's careless, I'm going to charge you with careless. If you follow too close, I'll charge you with follow too close. If both parties do something illegal, if someone causes the collision but you have no headlights, well, because they don't work, well, I'll charge you for the no headlights. We just charge for the offenses that we see, and we don't give anybody a particular pass because, well, they didn't cause a collision, but they have illegal wheels. No, we'll charge you for the illegal wheels. We'll take care of everything. But I'll have to look into that. IBC Read Dog, because I'm really curious now. See, I get to learn stuff too. Let's see here. Chloe says, the TikTok traffic cop. I always miss this segment. Well, I'm glad that you caught the segment. It's awesome to have you here. Akeem's making allegations about race. I don't know anything about that information. I don't think it's accurate, though. What little information I have, at one point, back when karting was a thing, the most stopped person, I think, was a white guy. But anyway, I don't have the stats to have that conversation with you, just something that I remember anecdotally. What up? 300,000 taxpayer money right here. Actually, this is not the podcast from that article. So there was an article posted in the CBC that talks about a podcast and a dollar amount being attributed to it. That's not this. That is a company that was hired to do something called 24 Shades of Blue, a high production value podcast. Not this. This is a one-person show, me in the office.
Listen anytime,
We're going back to the
anywhere
radio.
to News Talk 1010 Toronto through your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Jerry Agar continues.
And I'm with Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop. He's on TikTok every day at Traffic Services, answering traffic questions. We take the opportunity a couple times a month to dip in and have him answer some questions here. Sean, we were talking about a question that a listener had regarding reporting to the collision center versus calling the police. And you don't have to call the police if the damage is under what amount?
$2,000 between all vehicles. And
Okay.
that doesn't. Now, there are times when you have to call the police. If there's criminality, alcohol involved, no insurance, no license, someone's transported, because there's injuries and they go to hospital. There's other factors that may be involved where police do have to be notified. Like if you damage physical property, city property, things change. You can go to the tps.ca website and get all the information to walk you through the process, even tell you which collision reporting centers you can attend.
No, but somebody just wrote, what if I found out that the damage was over $2,000 a month afterwards when I took it to get fixed?
I will tell you that the minor scratch on a Mercedes or a high-end car is probably going to be over the $2,000. So in my opinion, every collision is over $2,000 and you're better off reporting. But in terms of the law, anything under $2,000, you could have minor contact and have a little dent and it may not be a thing. But you're right. You could find out later that there was much more damage. So I would err on the side of caution, and I would report those collisions to the Collision Reporting Center. It doesn't mean you have to claim on your insurance. It just means that you have to report it.
All right. Now, somebody wrote, this is an interesting question, and then we'll go to the phones. Is it legal to disable the driver's airbag? This person writes, I'm really short, and I sit close to the steering wheel, and I worry the bag will injure me or worse. Nobody else drives my car.
It's a reasonable discussion because you're right. Those bags come out at 200 miles per hour sometimes, and they can cause damage. It is illegal to disable an airbag system or to remove it. There are processes involved that you can apply for. There have to be a reason for it, and I understand it's quite expensive to remove. But simply taking it out because you want to take it out for no other reason, it would be illegal. You'd have to get some authorization to do it.
Here is Tom from Newmarket.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. So my 19-year-old left a party where police were there, I guess, giving breathalyzers to various drivers. He didn't know he was supposed to stand around and wait to get breathalyzed. He waved, said, see you guys there, whatever. So he left the party. Before he knew it, 2 cruisers were on his butt saying he was eluding police. They got him out of the car, breathalyzed him, 0, searched the vehicle so thoroughly it's not even funny, put him in handcuffs at the back of the car, and then said, wonderful, on your way. What legal obligations did my son, and to qualify this, he was 19 years old, afro, like big hair, that sort of stuff. What legal obligations does he have to get out of the car to say, yes, you've got, go ahead, search my car, hold me up for half an hour?
So we're going based on a secondhand story. So assuming everything is accurate and the police had set up some kind of ride program, because that's what I'm assuming this looks like, then the police can demand, since 2018, mandatory alcohol screening, which means they'd be obligated to provide a breath sample. Now, I don't know the scenario, if this is they're walking to cars or how this went down, but if you're stopped by police and made a demand for a roadside screening device, then you are obligated to provide that sample, and if you refuse, you can be charged criminally. In terms of search of the vehicle under the Liquor License Act, there can be search if there's belief that there's alcohol in the vicinity for some reason. I don't know exactly how that went down, just going based on your story, of course. So there is some search authority under the Liquor License Act for having open alcohol in the vehicle and so on. So in terms of providing that sample, having someone step out of the vehicle to do that, absolutely, there something that they are required to do.
All right. Pretty frustrating, though, if you've been pulled over. I mean, we only go with what he told us, and it's what his son told him transpired. But it is I'm sure very frustrating. You get pulled over. You're being accused of something you didn't do. They waste a whole bunch of your time and then finally go, all right, you can go. Like, it's pretty frustrating.
That particular story doesn't fit the mold of what I would normally hear. So it's really shooting I don't know how to respond, because it's really not the way it would normally go. Normally, you'd have a lawful vehicle stop, and then you'd make a demand for a roadside screening device. If there was more to it, and I just don't know.
Here is Keith from Oakville.
Good morning, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Apologize, I'm a little nervous. The first time I've ever been on the radio. 3 weeks ago tomorrow, my wife was on her way to work, and a young man ran a stop sign and hit the rear left of her car, spinning her twice and pushing her up against a curb. The young man took off down a dead-end road with a curve. She got her car off the curve, and she trapped him down the dead-end road. It's a hit and run. So she called me, and I was down the street, so I showed up and dialed 911. When the police arrived, they did no report, basically. We were to contact our insurance and go to the reporting center, and he was not charged with any traffic offense at all, even with the video of his car taking off from the scene.
Well, had I been contacted and had I attended, I would have investigated that at the scene, because that's more than just a refer to a collision reporting center, in my opinion. I can't speak to what the officers who attended thought or perceived. Generally speaking, when reports go to a collision reporting center, it's unlikely that collision charges related to the collision are laid, other than fail to remain. And in this case, they found the person. So I wouldn't handle it that way, but I don't know if they were truly improper in terms of rules and regs for whichever service. Was it Toronto or was it somewhere else?
Peel Region.
Keith, a quick question here. Your wife was a victim of a hit and run. Hit the vehicle or hit her?
Hit her vehicle.
Oh,
so
okay.
She chased him with her damaged vehicle and trapped him down the dead-end road.
All right. Well, I appreciate your call. I mean, obviously, Sean wasn't there, so he's not in the mind of the officers, unfortunately, and didn't see what they saw. Speaking of pedestrians, you put out a social media piece from TPS Traffic Services, Sean. The city of Toronto has a pedestrian problem, and it's not what you think. What did you have to say about that?
So I put up a video, and it was intended to get attention, and it upset some people, because the video says Toronto has a pedestrian problem. 197 pedestrians have been struck since the beginning of the year, and that's a 54% increase over last year. And some people heard the same video and thought I was blaming pedestrians, and other people thought I was blaming vehicles only. And the truth is, I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that we're having a problem. Pedestrians are getting struck, and we need to be safer on the roads. But a very polarizing video.
Okay. Where the fault lies is going to be particular to each situation.
Absolutely. Obviously, we want pedestrians to be safe. We want to have them focus on crossing the street or doing whatever they're doing safely. And we do see people who are focused on their phones and not paying attention to what's going on around them. But we're also seeing that with motor vehicles, and even more so, we see people who are driving above the speed limit. In fact, the average speed is well above the speed limit, and that's inappropriate. Not only because we are in winter and the roads handle differently, but it's breaking the law. Then we've got people who are just driving aggressively. They're more important than everybody else, and they're going to try and zigzag through traffic and pass people. Well, these all lead to problems, and we're trying to stop that through enforcement and education.
All right. I'm going to paraphrase TJ's question, Susan. We only have 30 seconds here. He's an Uber driver. We're allowed to refuse rides to passengers under 18. Can he ask for ID?
Interesting. That's a policy, but in terms of demanding ID, you can think about it from a perspective of a nightclub. They can say we're not letting people in, and in order to gain entry, they have that requirement, but there's no legal demand. The person can say no, and they can refuse them the opportunity to get in the vehicle. All right.
When are you regularly on TikTok?
Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, we're on TikTok and all the social media platforms. Also, we have a website, trafficcop.ca. That is a link to my link tree, and it gives you all sorts of valuable info on how to get hold of us.
Thanks very much. Sean Shapiro will return in a couple of weeks on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
See you then. Take care. That is always fun. What an interesting thing. I had never heard of this concept of demanding ID. So again, just to reiterate, you don't have to provide ID, but they don't have to give you access to the vehicle. And I want to do a little more research. Like, how does that work? Is it ageism if they don't let you in? I don't know. It's a policy. But if you went to a nightclub and said, I'm not giving you ID, they said, well, you're not coming in. So I think it's under the same level. You can refuse service based on that requirement. But I don't know why you'd want to do it. Especially if it's you're already pre-cleared through the app. It's Uber. I don't know, there's something with that story. I don't know enough about it, but that was my best guess. Hardeep says, hey, sir, how you doing today? I'm doing well. Emma, what's going on? That's Tracy. If there's no sign, can you cross yellow when it's safe? Oh, that's an answer. If there's no sign. Yeah. So this is about crossing the line. do you cross the line? Can you cross the line legally? If you're watching the show and you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. I guess I sort of just said that on Jerry Agar. But that's the deal. We do this because we want to be available to answer your traffic and police questions. We want to help you be safer drivers. We want you to get fewer tickets, especially if you didn't know you were breaking the law. Listen, people can find out what the law is and then do whatever they want. And if that means they're going to continue to drive unsafely, well, that's up to them. It's their decision as to how they want to drive. But we're going to ticket them and ultimately work to get their licenses taken away and increase their insurance rates, because that's what the consequence is of driving poorly, not following the rules. It's not something that people like to hear, but you are the captain of your domain, and that's an issue. Let's see here. What are we talking about here? Good morning. You're hearing two audio feeds? You're hearing a double loop? Interesting. Somebody, maybe it got better now. Hopefully not. Any thoughts on, we're talking about this. Now I'm scrolling through to catch up. Give me 1 second. Copying. Okay. Stand by. Opening up Word. What I'm doing right now, because I don't have my backup here, I'm going to cut and paste all of the questions that have come out of the chat so I can go through them where they're not speeding past me. So we're going a little slower today. Let's take it down a notch. We're going to go slow because I want to get all your questions and answered dealt with as best I can. We're here to 11. I saw the what's up, bro. All right. My car got damaged inside a yard, private property. Do I need to report it to police? If it was as a result of a collision or the movement of a vehicle, then yeah. Like if something fell out of the sky, that's not a collision report. But you'd want to make a report to insurance, and you'd probably want to make a report to police. But in terms of if it was through the movement of a motor vehicle, then absolutely. Yes. Questions about the employment process. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, we're hiring. We're hiring police officers, parking enforcement officers, special constables, all sorts of stuff. And Emma, thank you very much for the notice, the request for you to stop, for folks to stop spamming. Okay. And if you do want to, in fact, I invite you to jump onto trafficcop.ca or use the link in the bio, because we do have a link tree that takes you to other platforms. And if you're not getting your question answered and it can't seem to be seen, because I'm going to do my best with the chat, but if you want to jump over and have your stuff show up on screen, like what is this? Like this one, we already talked about it, but here's an example. If you're coming in through any of the other platforms, we can actually throw your message on the screen. Not that I want you to leave TikTok, just saying. Okay. Whose fault is it if someone cuts you off causing a collision? We don't say accident, even though the question was accident. So the deal is that the person who made the lane change, who caused the collision, is responsible for the collision. Even if there was no contact, someone cuts you off, they can be indirectly responsible. Sadly, when they're indirectly responsible, they don't always know they're responsible, and they often leave the scene. But that's where dash cameras are amazing. You get to justify or explain with supporting evidence exactly what happened. So big deal. Moving it down. I'm a parking control officer in Sudbury. Can I apply to Toronto Parking? You can apply. I don't know if it's a straight trade or if you have to go in and actually. I imagine it to be trained for our rules and regs and whatnot. But yeah, you could do a lateral and make a move. I don't know if it's probably going to be a different association, and I don't know if you're part of the same retirement or what's it called? Pension plan. Okay. Why do we have gaps between speed limits? I mean, 80 becomes 60 in between. How do you behave? Well, before you cross the 60 where it says begins, you have to have adjusted your speed to 60. It's a simple thing. There's that 80 is the maximum. You don't have to be doing 80 in an 80. So it's not like you have to go 80, slam on the brakes and go 60. You can gradually slow down from 80. But biggest problem is people in an 80 are probably doing 100 because they're breaking the law. And then there's a significant reduction in speed required to meet the requirement of a maximum of 60. Of course, some people in the 60s are doing 70 or 80. So speed limits are not suggestions. They are actual maximums. If you're going above them, you're going to get a ticket, or you may very well get a ticket. And you should get a ticket because you're breaking the law. We see a tremendous increase in the chances of you becoming involved in a collision and the severity of the damage and risk to injury when you're going above the speed limit. There's a reason those speed limits are put there. And people say, wow, they're out of date. They should be faster. No. Azim says, hey, sir, I'm 19 to join the police force. Do you recommend auxiliary or cadet? We don't have a cadet program right now. Auxiliary is a great volunteer opportunity, but you know what? The younger and younger people are being hired by the police directly, so that's an option for you. Talk to a recruiter. Emmett is a friend of ours who used to be at traffic, and he's now at recruiting. You should talk to him. Are car wraps illegal? Not illegal, but you do have to update your ownership to update the new color, and that might be saying that it's multicolored. That's possible. Oh, Al Capone wants to know if it's legal to drive while listening to a YouTube video while your phone is mounted in front of you. If the screen is visible to you and it's playing a video and you're just listening to it, that's illegal. You can't have the screen visible to you. The only mode it can be in is either locked screen or telephone mode or GPS if the GPS is active. That's the only three things. So what does that mean? It means that if you pay for the premium, you can actually listen to it with the screen turned off. So you'd be legal to listen to it, but you can't be watching it. If it was tucked away, locked in in your glove box, like some vehicles allow, I think it's Volkswagen has a cable in your glove box, then you're not watching it. The screen's not visible to you. It's a different situation, but you can't control it. You can't open the glove box to press play and pause and whatnot. That would be against the rules. I was wondering, do the recognition cameras have trouble when it's snowing? I imagine they would. They have to be able to see the plates. This is talking about automatic license plate readers. We were talking about that with Jerry Agar a little while ago. And the deal is that if we can't see the plate, it can't work, right? Which is one of the reasons it's illegal to obscure the plate. You can't put a license plate frame on it, clear plastic or tinted, doesn't matter. You can't obscure the plate. And if there's snow on it, other than the reasonable falling snow and accumulation from driving, that's against the law too. You can't have a dirty plate. It's your responsibility to ensure it's clean. And I imagine with an increase of people or police services having ALPR technology, you're going to get more and more tickets for people who block their plates. I've been cut off twice in a roundabout by a semi. A roundabout? I've never seen a semi in a roundabout. Not in the neighborhoods that I'm traveling in, but that's not cool. A lot of people don't understand how a roundabout works. There's a lot of confusion, which is one of the reasons I'm unimpressed with roundabouts. Or maybe I'm unimpressed with drivers. I'm unimpressed with drivers in relation to roundabouts. That's true. How do we get in touch with a recruiter? Go to www.tps.ca/careers. That will take you to our hiring and employment page. All the information you ever wanted to know and more is there. And Amit Kumar is one of the recruiters. He's a friend of ours from traffic, and he was in the motor squad with me. And he's the guy to talk to. There's other people there. They're all great. They all want to help you succeed. Okay, we got that. Hey. Amit Josh official. Joshy. You're repeating the same question again and again and again and again. Okay. How do we ask questions now? You still ask questions in the chat. Let's see here. I feel invisible on the road. People never see me. Are you a pedestrian? Are you a driver? Are you a cyclist? I want to know more because I want to talk about that. Being visible is important, whether you're in a car or walking on the sidewalk. Like, visibility is a great way to ensure. I can't say ensure. The word ensure sounds too complete. To increase the chances of being seen. That's all it is. But we'll talk more about it. I drive a white minivan. People are always cutting me off. I don't know if the color of the minivan has anything to do with the cutting you off, but there are bad drivers and inconsiderate drivers everywhere. It's a real problem. What do we have here? Boy, oh boy. Amit, stop asking if you can apply for a job. It's like 500 questions. He really wants to be a parking control officer here. Go to the website, www.tps.ca/careers. If your car is parked in your driveway and someone damages it, should you report it? Yeah, I would. If someone's vandalizing vehicles in your neighborhood, that's something we want to know as a police force, as a police service, so we can monitor and see, because they could be doing that all over the place. So making a report, also your insurance company, if the damage warrants an insurance claim, you want to do that as well. For that reason, they want to know the police report. If you get into a collision, don't phone police and what? Oh, if you get into a collision and you don't phone police and exchange info and the person ghosts you, then what? Well, I'm a big proponent of making reports to police. It protects you. It keeps people responsible. When people say, oh, I'll just give you money and don't report it to police, that's probably a sign that they're maybe suspended, maybe not insured, maybe there's something wrong with that scenario. And people want to do the right thing and be a good neighbor in that situation. But that driver needs to be held responsible. If they're out there running into cars all the time and paying for it when they make the mistake, that's not good. So I'd rather see everyone reported to police, even if the collision is under the $2,000 threshold. And then that doesn't stop you from then going and making a cash deal for minor repairs. You can do that. But who are you helping? You pay insurance for a reason. And if it's their fault for the cause of the collision, it's their insurance that goes up, generally not yours. But it's a good conversation to have with your insurance provider so you can get insurance advice from somebody who is an insurance person. What is the consequence for driving without insurance? A fantastic question and very on topic in discussion anyway. So what's the deal? The cost of insurance is the cost of insurance. The cost of not having insurance when you're pulled over and or involved in a collision, well, the fine for driving without insurance it has a range, $5,000 to $25,000, and the option of 6 months in jail. Now, the JP could say you're getting the fine and 6 months in jail, or you could just get 6 months in jail. It's up to them. Or you can just get the fine. Fine. It's either or and. Either or and. They can do what they want. Yeah. And it can go up from there. Like the subsequent offenses keep going. What is this? If I'm in a collision, you're liable for collisions if you... okay, people, this is sub-conversations. Hey, do me a favor. If you're asking questions on TikTok, add a question, the letter Q at the beginning of the question so I know you're asking me. Because I see all sorts of back and forth between other folks that are in the chat. And that's awesome. I love the community we have here. It really makes it fantastic. But please go and have that conversation. Is it illegal to have a button in my car that puts a covering over my plate? Yeah, it's illegal to obscure your plate. Let's see here. If you have a muscle car and you aren't obnoxiously driving and revving it up, will a cop ticket me? If it's meeting the requirements under the HTA for having the appropriate exhaust system, you probably won't have an issue. If it doesn't meet it, then you could. The obnoxious part will certainly get more attention than not obnoxious, but yeah. Okay. No ketchup in Big Mac sauce. Appreciate you on the don't spam plan. Okay. Scrolling down. Is it illegal to tint your headlights in Ontario? Yeah, absolutely it is. You can only have white or amber. Tinsdale, you're on it. Thank you. Okay. Keep on moving. We're scrolling. A couple of years ago, I was rear pumped. I assume you mean bumped, and the driver paid for the repair. Should I have reported it? You would have legally been required to report it if the damage was over $2,000 between both vehicles. If you are happy with the results and it was under $2,000, then you didn't do anything wrong. But technically, if it was over $2,000, then you may have failed to report when required. Okay. Next page. Is a yellow line in the middle of the road in Ontario only a suggestion? It's a good suggestion, but it is a suggestion. It's not a legal requirement in the province of Ontario to not cross that line, but a solid line says that not only should you not cross it because the visibility and it could be dangerous, but traffic on the other side of the line is traveling towards you. A white line means they're traveling in the same direction of you, but there's no ticket for crossing the line. There is, however, a total responsibility for whatever happens as a result of you crossing the line. So if you create a collision situation, you are going to be responsible for it. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Some provinces, I got to add to that whole line situation. Some provinces, it is illegal. Okay, this is where we jumped in before. Paul Hansen says, yes, Toronto does have a pedestrian problem. They have no respect for vehicular traffic. You know what? It's not a pedestrians not having respect for cars and it's everybody having no respect for one another. it's a community space. We need people to be safe and get along with each other. And the pedestrian groups that get upset about cars say it's all the cars' problem. The cars get upset because pedestrians are blocking the road and they can't do what they need to do. And then they start upping the ante and becoming more aggressive. And it feeds, right? It's both problems. It's both parties who need to get along with one another. It's not one side only. In fact, it shouldn't be sides at all. It should be everyone being safe, because there's a real cost. And I mean that in terms of injury when collisions occur. And pedestrians and cyclists are the ones who get hurt more in a collision than those driving the car. When pedestrians are struck by cars, it's the car that doesn't notice it. It's the pedestrian who really has a hard time. And that's just the dynamics of collisions. Big, heavy metal object heading soft, mushy person, that's a problem. And we want to protect vulnerable road users. So we want the drivers to get a clue, put their phones down, slow down, not drive aggressively. We know, like Vision Zero is a thing, and we talk about it every single day. And that reminds me, I've got to tell you where they are today. But Vision Zero enforcement officers are out there changing driver behavior one ticket at a time. They're doing it, and they're looking for the drivers who are conducting themselves within the big four, which is speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. They're doing it every single day, and there's never a shortage of people who are breaking the law. They're busy writing tickets every day. They write a lot of them. So where are they today? 14 Division and 53 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Lawrence Park, Yonge and Eglinton, Rosedale, Leaside. Those are the neighborhoods that real people live, work, and play. I say it all the time. They deserve to be safe. And of course, the pedestrians are included in that statement. I put up that video yesterday, and some people got really upset. They were like, "Oh my God, you're blaming pedestrians." No, not blaming pedestrians. Bringing attention to an important topic. Let's see here. Scroll and scroll. Oh, I think I've hit the end. I've hit the end of those. So let me delete those, and I'll dip into the question pool again. Scrolling back. Someone was saying, I obviously asked for ID at clubs. I used to bounce. I was a bouncer years and years and years ago. All right, let's go backwards this time. The back light of a car is not working. If police pull over, give a ticket, or what, officer? I don't know what the question is. Are you talking about the reverse lights or the license plate lights? License plate lights are required to be illuminating the license plate. So if you don't have one, you can get a ticket. It's $110. It is a minimum. Oh my goodness, is it 3 lumens? I want to say 3 lumens. It's not a high brightness, but it is the only white light you're allowed to have on the rear of the vehicle, except for your reverse lights, but only when you are in the situation of backing up. Oh, Azim, you want to know if I recommend doing auxiliary since you're still in university? Yes, I think the auxiliary program is fantastic. I used to do it. But please stop spamming because people aren't happy with you. Okay. I found tint at my workplace and the police didn't give me a reward. TNT? You found explosives at your workplace and the police didn't? I don't think we do rewards unless we post that we're giving rewards. Maybe they'll put you in for an award. That's possible. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Really, you are spamming. Let's just let's put an end to that. Let's have you mute for a little while. Take a break. Okay. No more messages from Azim for the time being. Appreciate your enthusiasm, but let's take a break. How do we know if damage is over $2,000? That's why I say the best case is to assume that it's likely over $2,000. Okay. Need to have some tea. If you're watching and you don't know who I am, this is me creating space so I can read. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario. So the laws that we speak to are generally Ontario Highway Traffic Act laws. Of course, when we discuss criminal law, that is a Canada-wide thing. But we are always chatting about traffic safety, which is important everywhere. Okay. What are we talking about? Signs? No, not talking about this. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we're catching up to where we were. I really miss CJ. She helps out so much. Okay. Scrolling more. Okay, we're talking about tint. Tinted windows. We haven't talked about tinted windows in a little while. What is the story with them? Well, you're allowed to have tinted windows to a limit. According to the Light Truck and Passenger Vehicle Inspection Guide, you are allowed to have up to 30% light blockage of the windows directly left and right of the driver. Nothing on the windshield, and you can go as dark as you want on rear windows. That's for the inspection guide. So, there's two different things in play. One, you take your vehicle to get it inspected, to get it certified, and they will say yes or no based on what you have. Now, some places may not care. Maybe they're willing to put their license on the line to give you a pass on your safety, even if the vehicle is not safe. But if a police officer pulls you over and your vehicle has window tint on the windshield, has darker tint than is permissible on the windows left and right of the driver, they can pull your license plates in addition to giving you a ticket that is for unsafe vehicle if it's too dark, or if it's just obscuring the interior of the vehicle, they can give you a ticket for obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint because it's illegal to prevent us from seeing inside. Lee says, do you know the cost for a podcast? No. This podcast is not that podcast. It is a conversation that we've been looped into because this is being confused, I think, by people who think this is the $400,000 production. It's not. This is me spending an hour to an hour and a half a day in front of a telephone and a camera talking to you. There's not much going on here in terms of cost of production. The other one was a third-party company. I am not them. And I don't know enough about that to really comment on it. Why do cars with exhaust systems get pulled over but loud Harley Davidsons do not? That's probably because, well, two things. Loud and loud. What is loud? What is reasonable? An engine with exhaust pipes can be louder than an engine with a full exhaust system because it's a vehicle. There's different standards for different types of vehicles. So if it's an obnoxiously loud Harley Davidson or any other motorcycle, it's going to get pulled over and charged too. There's no free pass for motorcycles. They are required. In fact, there's a bylaw in the city of Toronto that says that if a motorcycle idles at over 92 decibels, it is going to get a $500 bylaw ticket. That is outside of any other ticket under the HTA. What do we have here? Okay. We got people answering the stuff. A lot of people who are unhappy with the spamming. Holy moly. What is this? Okay. Too bad TikTok doesn't have a slow mode. So TikTok, let's back up for a second. I'm doing this widescreen thing because we're available on all platforms and we're allowed to, and by having the widescreen, we can do some really cool stuff. What can we do? Well, let me show you. We can have guests on, and I can invite people to jump on the show. I can do screen sharing. I can do the stuff that you can only do by having cool technology to do it. I don't know that's maybe not a good explanation, but we have two cameras here. I can have someone sitting at this computer, and that's kind of cool. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to give you the best experience possible. When questions come in from platforms, I can do stuff like this. Here's a question coming in from the what is this called? This is called, I'm having a mental moment. The gaming app. Why do Toronto Police still have those fat light bars? Those fat light bars are actually the most visible things you're ever going to see. Thin light bars don't have the same visibility. Ours were custom designed for us to protect our officers, to create a safe environment on the road and have the most visibility possible. So being able to do these lower thirds and graphics is really cool, but we can't do it inside the app. It's just the thing. And Chase loves the TPS light bars. So yeah, this is me discussing the fact that not all the questions come through and we'd like a slow mode. But I think that the production value being better is worth something. And as we continue to grow and technology changes, hopefully we'll get our ability to see the questions and get those piped in, because that would make my life so much better, truly. Question is, here's a good question. If I swerve not to hit a deer and hit another car, who is responsible? Well, you are. You caused a collision. It's understandable what you were trying to do, but driving school will normally tell you to hit the animal rather than hit another vehicle. It's a judgment call, and very often the wrong one is made because hitting a vehicle in oncoming traffic will have much more serious consequences than hitting a deer. But people want to save the animals, right? I get it. What is this? Chatham, Ontario, impaired driver caught with empty beer cans inside car up to window. They may have been impaired, but I don't think they drank all those beer cans. I imagine that was somebody who was collecting them to return them. I don't know. I saw a blog TO or some kind of picture on the internet, so I don't know the events, but I can't imagine they drank 500 cans of beer before getting behind the wheel. Not that it doesn't take away from the fact that they were impaired. If they were, I didn't even hear that part of the story. I just saw lots of cans. And there's other issues there. Those cans that drive while crowded and insecure load, they are Twitch. Thank you very much. Those cans were a hazard. So even if they were not impaired, I would have charged that driver for various things. All right. Going back to my questions as I go slow. What's on the G1 test? 20 signs and 20 rules of the road. So 20 street signs you got to know and 20 rules of the road, which means you need to study the book. Study the book. What's your view on rainbow underglow? Is it rainbow underglow in particular or just underglow? Please stop spamming because you're asking the question a whole lot. And I appreciate that you want to know, but unfortunately that means we got to say be quiet for a bit. The answer is that if it doesn't interfere with other laws, there's no specific law governing them. The fact is, if you install them properly so that all they're doing is illuminating the ground and the only light visible is reflecting off of the ground, that's not illegal. If the bulbs are hanging low and you can see them forwards, back, side to side, those are going to be a problem. Gabbro's muted, so we don't have to tell him to stop spamming because they're no longer able to spam. I don't like having to mute people. I don't like having to ban people, but you choose your own adventure. Am I allowed to hide my VIN number? This is an interesting question, and I've been told a couple of different things. So here's the deal. We were talking about it on the air with Jerry Agar, as a matter of fact, a while back, and police officers will often say, conceal your VIN number in order to prevent people from cutting keys, and we were sharing that information. And we were then told that it was actually a requirement by law to have it visible. And we did some research. So here's the deal. You can actually block your VIN number. You can. Manufacturers have to, they're mandated to make it visible. And is it beneficial to have it visible? For many reasons, yes. But for preventing a vehicle being stolen, it's less good. So I say, my suggestion is on private property, I would totally cover it. But on public property, I wouldn't, because it creates situations. If your vehicle has to be towed, they need a VIN number, and they will have to generally enter your vehicle in order to make it visible. So you're adding some issues if you're covering it. So I would not cover it, not because it's not against the law, not because of the law, but because it creates other work for other people. But it is absolutely a requirement for manufacturers to make it visible, and it is an offense if you modify it. There are charges for that, but it is very interesting. How do you protect yourself? It's a problem. There are other ways to protect your vehicle, by the way. VIN number isn't the catch-all way of covering it. And I don't cover mine. I don't think it's necessary. If they want my car, they'll take my car. I'll get a new car. And that's not an invitation to steal my wheels. I'm just saying that I'm not going to, completely ruin my day worrying about what if they want my car. I'm always impressed in the morning when I start my car with the remote starter to let it warm up for a couple of seconds before I get out there, that it actually responds. I keep waiting for the car to get stolen. It doesn't get stolen. But here's the deal. You can get ODB2 port blocks. You can put remote engine ignition cutoffs. You can get a new product now that they'll install hidden, it basically interacts with the computer, so you have to punch in a series of keypad entries in order to start the car, even if they had a key. So there's all sorts of things you can do. If you're really wanting to protect yourself, you can go through all those hoops. But here's the bad news. If they want to steal your car, they're still going to steal your car. I don't know why I'm looking at Instagram more than I'm looking at this camera. I don't mean to ignore you. It's right here. I'm looking at myself. It's weird. Okay. Too bad TT lost its questions. It's really my fault, this whole lost its question section. And normally we have it going on where we can just, carry on as though it was still working, because we have CJ, who's unfortunately required in court today, so she can't help out. Okay. Is it illegal to sit over the advanced left turn sensor instead of pulling up to the line? If you know where the sensor is this because you have to stop at the appropriate place. If you're hanging back a little bit because you know the sensor's there and you're trying to trigger it, is it illegal? Are you stopping at the wrong place? No, if you're stopping before the line, it depends on how far back. You might be causing an issue. Ken says, hey, buddy. Hey, buddy, back. Hi, where would be the best place to weigh my vehicle and trailer I tow non-commercially? A weigh station. I don't know physical locations of where to send you, but there are weigh stations. I would contact the MTL. Maybe you'll to also go to a dump and roll onto their scale and get a weight. Devos, what's going on? Okay. Someone's asking some political questions. I don't do politics. They've done the city dump before, but probably not the best place. Interesting. I came to the same answer. Is it illegal to park on the boulevard grass? Well, there are bylaws about parking. I'm not the right person to talk to about parking stuff. Erin Urquhart is, TPS_bikehart. She is on vacation, so next week would be the time to ask that question. Okay. I want to join law enforcement. I am not a permanent resident of Canada. Am I? Oh, I am an international student. Well, I appreciate your desire to do that. When you become a PR status person, you're eligible to apply, or if you become a citizen. But if you're just a international student, you wouldn't be able to apply for a job with the Toronto Police because being a permanent resident is a requirement of employment. We talked about this. Can I get a ticket if I drive my mom's rental if I'm not an authorized driver? You might run into problems with insurance. You might run into problems with the insurance on or at least the rental company not being willing to cover you in the event of a collision, which means you'd be on the hook for a whole lot of money. But it's not illegal. So if you're a licensed driver operating an insured vehicle in the province of Ontario, you're good to go. But that's only from a police perspective. It means we won't charge you. But it does mean that if you get into problems, you are going to have bigger problems waiting for you. Okay. There's a suggestion that some police officers like giving tickets more than other police officers, and the suggestion was based on their how they identify. But the truth is that police officers write tickets. It's part of our job. It's not about liking it or not liking it. Are CN or CP police allowed to stop vehicles? Yes, they are police officers. They are entitled to enforce the Highway Traffic Act in relation to their property. I believe it's a 500-meter distance outside of their property. So that includes any railway crossings or anything where their property extends. So there are CP and CN rail police who have breath techs and do speed enforcement and do all sorts of great stuff. Okay. Poncho and Lisa says, I have a question. I have answers. What if I have Spotify open to see what songs are playing? You cannot be looking. If you have the Spotify app open, could it be used? If you're reading it to read the songs, then yeah, that's a problem. You can't be reading your phone or using your phone. That is considered use. Okay, speeding is speeding, and the officer can ticket for anything over the limit. That is absolutely right. Pierre wants to know if you can wear AirPods while driving in Ontario, and technically, it's not against the law. So if it's not against the law, you can do it. But is it safe? Well, I don't think it's the best option. Now, there are headphones like AirPods that have pass-through. If they're the AirPods Pro, they have the ability to take ambient sound and pass it through the speaker and the headphone, and then it would be safer. But listen, music through your ears is going to be distraction. Even talking to somebody in your vehicle is technically a distraction, but it's not illegal. Now, other provinces, it's illegal. Okay. Is it illegal to turn the corner without using your signal? If the movement of your vehicle would affect anybody else on the road, then you're obligated to signal. So I say signal all the time. It's just easier. How are the red police cars that say OC Transpo are different from the usual? I've never seen this. So I don't know where you are. Where are these red police cars? Maybe it's a different province or in the States. Not I've never seen one in Ontario. And Tracy's right on that. Thank you. Bradley Hood says, what about when cops use their laptops and things while driving? Police, fire, ambulance, they are exempt from the law that prevents people from using their laptops or cell phones or two-way radios. We're permitted to use communication devices because it's part of our lawful execution. It's part of doing what we do for public safety. Like we need to be able to communicate with dispatch. We need to be able to mark people, check license plates, mark when we're somewhere, check the driving history of a vehicle. Now, generally, we do as much of that as possible when stopped. It's not always possible. And we want to get the officer to have all the information they can to be safe. And sometimes that requires doing it. So there's an exemption so that we can do what we need to do. Now, additionally, cell phones. This is my police-issued cell phone. I can do a lot of police work on it, not just send my mom iMessage things. But I can run license plates here. I can do reports here. So some vehicles don't have computers. Some officers don't have radios. So that would allow them to communicate, and sometimes they need to. So there is that exemption. Can you get pulled over for not using your signal? Absolutely. It's a charge under the HTA. Scrolling. Can you give us the rules on a roundabout? I don't love roundabouts. Apparently they are safer. So the deal is this. If you are entering a roundabout, it's the flow of the road. There's nowhere else to go. You don't need to signal your entrance into the roundabout. Upon exiting or in advance of exiting your roundabout, you need to signal your intention to change lanes within it or move. Transparency mode, thank you. So the deal is that, on the way in, no signal. Within or out, you need to signal your way out. And vehicles that are entering must yield to the traffic inside. Apparently, I have just made a horrible car doo-doo. What'd I say? I called it an ODB2 instead of an OBD2. Oh, well. I mixed it up once in a while. Once in a while, I do that. There's an appropriate terminology for all sorts of card stuff, and I made a boo-boo. Okay. Let me go into here for a second. I want to go into Volley. Now, we had Volley working great where I could port in. Oh, maybe. I guess I could do it here. Hang on a second. Let's go into Volley. I think I'm still logged in from this. Here we go. Log in. Does it remember me? It does. Q&A. We have 4 questions in the queue. Here we go. So if someone's making an unsafe lane change, they could be charged with making an unsafe lane change. If it causes a collision, they could be causing a collision. If you're in the right lane where there's an on-ramp and you're not anticipating that vehicle coming in and you're not slowing down and allowing them to come in or making reasonable efforts to ensure safety, you could also be involved. You can't accelerate to avoid letting them in. That could be stunt driving, intentionally preventing someone from passing or merging. That could be a stunt situation. So if you're driving at the speed limit, they should be driving at the speed limit too when they're merging. So they'd likely be in a worse situation. But here's the deal. Look for those people. Avoid those people. I see people merging. I will move over to the lane next to me. I will go from the right lane to the middle lane because I want to avoid the whole coming into contact with other vehicles. I'm assuming they're going to do the wrong thing, so I make the appropriate move. Let's see here. If the police ask why I'm carrying a knife as a tool, should I give them an explanation? And if I stay silent, can they arrest? So there's a difference between a knife that is a tool and a knife that is carried for self-defense, and how it is transported and what type of there are weapons that are weapons because they're weapons. Like if you have a switchblade, it's prohibited. You're going to get arrested for possession, regardless of why you're carrying it. If you're carrying a box cutter because you cut boxes, or because you have a multi-tool because you cut boxes and you tighten screws, well, tell them what the reason is, because that's the appropriate thing to do. Let's see here. Good morning, Mr. Shapiro. So I know you don't like people using their four-way signals while driving, but how do you feel about semis using them while going slowly up a hill? I'm of the same opinion. If you're moving, you shouldn't put your hazards on. I guess if there's an issue where your vehicle is incapable of going up the hill and you're so much slower that you're giving people advance notice, I don't know. I have to revisit my my thinking. That's an interesting scenario. And that is, listen, if traffic's doing 100 and for some reason your vehicle, because of the way it's loaded, is incapable of going up at a reasonable speed and you're giving them a little bit of a warning, I have mixed emotions. Technically speaking, I'm going to stick with my original statement of that's not what they're for. And it's confusing. But maybe in that scenario, I'm going to talk to Sergeant Campbell about it. We will come up with a unified, I'm making a note. So we're talking about semis, hazard, uphill. Cool. Because some would say if you're unable to maintain speed, then you are probably not supposed to be on the road. Why would you be going slowly? If you're at highway speeds, wouldn't you just, I don't know. Very interesting. I will have to revisit this. And now I am looking for closing this window and going here. Okay, jumping into your shop. What is this? Canada has no self-defense laws? What do you mean? I mean, there is a discussion of use of force and how use of force, you're allowed to use reasonable force to defend yourself. And if it's excessive force, you're going to be held criminally liable. So there is definitely a section of the criminal code that deals with using force and defending yourself and what's allowed and what's not allowed. The problem is people don't necessarily understand what they're reading, and then they get themselves into trouble because a little information is dangerous. Can I have a flashing amber light on my car even if it's not a service vehicle? Flashing lights on a car, if you have hazards or if you have a rotating beacon, if it's being used appropriately, I have no issue with it. I would not want you driving around with a flashing yellow beacon. No, it's not specifically illegal, but it's an inappropriate use of the light. It can be blinding, and it can also blinding and distract and confuse drivers. Hit a deer, now what? If you hit a deer, chances are you've got significant damage to your vehicle. Call police. You may have injuries. You may be going to the hospital, but you definitely need to call police at that point. If there's minor damage, I'd call police anyway and get direction from the dispatcher. Akela has a dad joke. We haven't done a dad joke today. I've got two dad jokes. I've got this one that I'm going to read, which is dad joke. Why did the robber take a bath? Because he wanted to make a clean getaway. It's not bad. So this is the one for today. What did one toilet say to the other? You look a bit flushed. Yeah. Let's see here. How do you know the license is suspended when running the plate if the owner is not driving? We would know if the owner's license is suspended. We would not know if the occupant's license is suspended. There is no technology for that at the moment. Who knows? All right, let's jump back into some questions. All right. What do I do if a light doesn't change for over 5 minutes? Well, I would suggest making a right turn legally at the red light. Alternatively, actually, there's no alternatively. I mean, if you can get out of your car, secure it, and then go and push the button for the walk button to change the signal, or you could try backing up and repositioning yourself over the sensor. This is more of an issue for people who ride motorcycle than anything else. Okay. What is this? Not changing lanes? I don't know what this question is. Okay. Law for too bright headlights on the road. They'd be improper. We were talking about this yesterday. I still haven't looked it up. What's the maximum brightness that you can have your headlights? So if you have like super retina burners, is it illegal? Yeah, they'd be inappropriate or too bright. And there's a definition in wattage between high beams and low beams and the direction. So there's a whole bunch of things that are in the inspection guide. I got to look it up. What is the maximum limit on the 401 before getting ticketed? If you are speeding at any number over the speed limit, you might get a ticket. I've seen people doing 120 getting a ticket. I've seen people who are stopped higher. I've seen people stop lower. Don't speed. Just don't speed. Okay. Is it legal to drive someone else's... Oh, we talked about that. Are you allowed to legally drive somebody else's rental vehicle? Evan wants... I just spilled water on me. Yeah. Okay. Evan wants to know if I'm going to the car show. I'll be there on the media day, which is Friday. But I don't know if I'll be able to make it in during the week. I'll try. What if I mount my phone and go live TikTok while driving? So if you are not able to see the screen, but the camera can see you, you're not doing anything wrong. If you're having a conversation like I am with you and I'm reading comments and engaging with TikTok, that's illegal. So if you could put your phone in a block box or you use the rear camera so you're not actually seeing the screen and you mounted it backwards, that wouldn't be illegal. But you can't touch your phone while you're driving. You can't adjust it. You can't stop it. You can't look. You won't know what's going on in your life. You're just doing your thing. It wouldn't be illegal. But if the screen is visible and you're actively involved, that would be illegal. I imagine that would confuse some people. If they were, could you imagine looking at someone and the phone is facing out the window and people can see you and they'd be confused by that, I think. We talked about that. We talked about that. Favorite donut. We have not talked about this. My favorite donut happens to be a raspberry-filled Krispy Kreme. That's my favorite. But I am not having any of those because I'm watching what I eat. I'm not watching it as I eat it. I'm avoiding things that are, fat-making. I want to lose weight. Oh, we're talking about dog spray, and we're talking about... So let's jump into here for a second. I got to look over at the TikTok chat. Is mace... mace is illegal. So where's the... So here's the thing. Dog repellent that is specifically manufactured and sold as dog repellent is legal to carry for the use against animals. If you use it against a human, you're going to get charged with assault. And there's a specific charge for releasing a noxious chemical, I think is what it would fall under. But you can use it against an animal. Bear spray against bears, dog spray against dogs. But mace actually has, I believe, CS tear gas in it. And if you use tear gas or CS, the mace stuff, that's actually a prohibited item, and you can get, I think it's a year jail time for it. All right. Scrolling. All right, we're back here. Let's move this over here. We'll move this one over here because we're going to change the focus of what we're doing. What's our timing like? 15 minutes. All right. Question for you. If people on highway driving 100 kilometers an hour in Collection Road while someone come from behind and starts honking. If you're doing the speed limit and someone's behind you honking, stay out of the left lane, I should say, and let them honk you. But if they can go around you if you're not sitting in the passing lane. And I say it's the passing lane. It's not the speeding lane. It is the place where if you're not actively passing, you shouldn't be hanging out. Simple as that. Okay. Hello from Peterborough. Going back here. What is this? Why aren't trucks policed for going slow in the left lanes, especially on the 401? If they're doing the speed limit, they're doing the legal limit in that lane. There's no time when you're allowed to go over the speed limit, and there's no restriction as to what lane they're in unless there's signs preventing truck use in that lane. So it depends. Why would cops not show up after someone ran a red light, turning left and hit you? Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. If we're talking back to when we would go if we were there. Okay, trying to catch up to where we are. Here we go. No, so much. Yeah, please use a Q in the question so I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm jumping into a conversation here. I don't know where to jump in. Where's the questions? One question. That's from Pranav. So you said one question, but then I don't see your question. Let me see if we got one from Jake here. Let's go there. I'm also going to check volley. Oh, we got lots of stuff. No, we got no questions in volley. Q&A. All right. 2-lane traffic backed up, curb lane closed ahead. Driver leaves lane, zips up, cuts back in. You're talking about when the on-ramp? Maybe you're trying to figure out if it's legal to jump out of the lane in traffic and scoot ahead. Proper is, I don't like it. It obviously creates a situation. I don't know if there's a specific law. We're going to have, hopefully in the not-too-distant future, we're going to have the magical Sergeant Kerry Schmidt join us. Man, that's a good question for him because that's his bread and butter. He's a highway guy, like literally a 400 series, highway guy. Do the results of a breathalyzer test get recorded in the driver's file at a ride check? I've recently went through a ride check, and after blowing 0, the friendly officer took my license into his cruiser for a moment. Then I could see he was doing something with it on his computer. So that's a good question. And the answer is, yeah, we log all interactions. We do tests. We have to record it because we're taking your personal information. We're recording it. So that is something that is recorded as to articulate in, what's the word I'm looking for? To record it. We're recording it. It has to be recorded. We are required to. Chase says, good luck carrying bear spray downtown. Don't carry bear spray downtown. There are no bears. It has to be reasonable. All right. Can police take your wallet from your pocket to check your ID without a consent? If you've been arrested and they're searching you and they're going to put you into the car, then they're taking your wallet out and they ID you because they're searching you. If you're just walking around, we can't pickpocket you and check your ID without lawful authority to search you. Plans to switch lanes. Accelerate and indicate to pass the vehicle you wish to enter. Plans to switch lanes, ? Accelerate and indicate to pass the vehicle in the lane you wish to enter. What are we talking about? What is the context of your question? Is this just in general? Hey, someone scan the code. I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you giving people advice as to what you should do when you want to switch lanes? Yeah, definitely signal your intention to move. That's a good thing. And then do it safely. Not necessarily an accelerate thing. You don't have to pass a vehicle to change lanes, but you need to go into a safe spot and only start your lane change when you can complete that lane change safely. What is the minimum speeding amount on the 401 to get demerit points? It's the same on the demerit points start at 16 kilometers over the speed limit. So if you're under the speed limit, if you're under the 16 kilometers an hour, you won't get demerit points for a conviction, but you're still going to have your insurance negatively impacted because they don't care about demerit points. That's about tracking your license to have it suspended. It's not about anything else. If you get 4 demerit points on a single ticket and you're a novice, you're going to get a 30-day suspension for your first time, 60-day for your second, 90 days for your second, not 60. 90 days, and then you get kicked out. So there's a reason that points are a problem. If you accumulate, is it 9 points as a graduated license holder? Once you get your G, it's a different scale. Okay, we got that. All right. Hood, what is this? A driver must accelerate the highway speed before leaving the on-ramp. Well, that's great when it can. There may not be anywhere to go. So you got to be paying attention. Okay, we already talked about that. A lot of questions about defense and pepper spray. Is it illegal to ride curb to make right turn if blocked by someone? You want to know if you can ride on the curb, drive off the road? That doesn't sound very legal. Every situation is different. I couldn't, without seeing what you're talking about, really know what you're suggesting. So what's it blocked with? Are you driving on the sidewalk to get to where you're going? That's not legal. We saw some video of that on TikTok recently. Is it illegal to drive with fully tinted windows? Well, what is fully? There are legal maximums that you can have. Is brake checking illegal? Not only is it illegal, it could be criminal. All right. We got lots of stuff here. Why do a lot of guns in Canada have defaced serial numbers? Because criminals are defacing the serial numbers. That's because they don't want to be detected. Let's see here. If I drive a Jeep Wrangler, if I'm wait to make a right because there's a car in front of me, the type of vehicle you drive does not change what rules you must, follow. If I come to Ontario, would I have highway restrictions as per on LP? LP, IP? What highway? So if you have a learner's permit. So if you have a learner's permit, you must maintain the rules of your learner's permit. So, but it depends because technically speaking, here's the deal. If your learner's permit is we recently went back and forth on this. So learner's permits are issued with the intention of being used in your home province or country. We will accept them from outside of the province because that's what Ontario does, but every jurisdiction could be different. So if you come to Ontario and you have a learner's permit, you're following all the restrictions, and you're a minimum of 16 years old and being accompanied by a qualified driver who is level G or G class and 4 years experience, then you could, but you'd have to maintain the restrictions of being on the highway. But why would you want to come to another province and ride on a learner's permit? I will tell you this. A learner's permit from another province, if you decide to move to Ontario, is not transferable. You start again. A G2 equivalent would be transferable. So someone with a learner's permit in Newfoundland who's no highway restriction. Can you drive alone on a learner's permit, Nessa? That's what I want to know. What is this? We got lots of advice here about driving. Interesting conversations. Do OPP vehicles have dash cams? The ones that are going to have this new system absolutely will. I don't think they had it before. We've had them forever, and we also have body-worn cameras. I don't know what the OPP has in that regard. Okay, let's scroll down. 40 new messages. Scrolling back. This is a horrible way to read these. I mentioned I miss CJ? Okay. Let's go here. Brake checking is illegal. Why do truckers do it? Brake checking is where you slam on the brakes and cause people to run into the back of your vehicle or have a panic attack. That is absolutely careless driving and or criminal in some situations because you're and it could be stunt as well. Like there's so many negative. It's just not a thing you do. Stunt driving is stunt driving on private property. Absolutely. So you're saying new. So Nessa, I got to look up what your learner's permit is. If you have the equivalent of a G2, which is a license that allows you to drive by yourself, then when you're driving by yourself, because you're allowed to with a probationary license, you have the same restrictions here. If it was one that required you to have a supervising driver like Ontario, then you'd not be allowed to do it. I need to know more about your license, so let's have a look. Because now I'm down the rabbit hole. So what do we got here? Let's see what it says. Learner's permit. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. Okay, free Newfoundland and Labrador learner's permit license NL. Okay. You're using your picture is the picture from the sample license? That's hilarious. Okay. To get a learner's permit, you call the level 5, class 1. You're 16 years old. Okay, so it's the same requirement. So if your learner's permit is a class 5 level 1 license, then you would have to follow those conditions and be supervised. Where are your restrictions? List of questions. That they give you the questions ahead of time. I got to read your guide. I don't see what any other restrictions are. So you're saying that is that what you're talking about? The true supervised learner's permit? Interesting. Okay. Hypothetically, Mike wants to know what the fine for driving in an HOV lane is by yourself. The fine, there's going to be, what is it? If it's HOV, not multi-use lane, I think it's 150. Let's find it. It's improper use of HOV lanes. I should know this because we talk about it on a fairly regular basis, but for some reason the dollar amount isn't something that I really pay attention to. Improper use. Maybe listed as high occupancy vehicle. It's $110. Really? I thought it was higher. 3 demerit points, $110. I was pulled over in my parents' car, and the reason was I wasn't the registered driver of the car. Okay. They wouldn't know if you're they'd know if you are the licensed owner of the car. They wouldn't know if you're a licensed driver of the car. So if they pulled you over because it's registered to a female and they said, well, you're a male, they want to make sure you're a licensed driver. Maybe. Why should we renew our license plate going in person or online instead of government can do auto renewal? Because if you don't pay your fines, you got to pay your fines. You also have to check in and give them updated insurance information, and you're required to. Just what it is. Why are phone holders allowed to be attached to front windows? However, no tint is allowed on front. If you put a phone holder in the front window and it obscures your vision, you can be charged. There's no free pass for front window holders. How would they know if you're registered? Registered owner, when we run the license plates, we see who owns the vehicle. That's how they'd know if you are the registered. Well, they make an assumption. They're investigating. And they're legally allowed to pull over any vehicle to check the status of a license. What is this? Do I have to get an Ontario license if I'm an out-of-province student? Yes, if you are a student living in Ontario, you are a resident because you're living in Ontario, and you have to apply for an Ontario license after or within 60 days. And then you're obligated under that license. Can you drift on private property? No, it's private property is still falling under the HTA for stunt driving. OK wants to know why Toronto police wasted so much money on a podcast. I have nothing to do with that. Not my thing. This is not that. This is an initiative of the Traffic Services Unit. I don't know, other than reading the article, I don't have anything nothing to do with that. Okay. Do you think any off-duty cops make it through a single day without having a ticketable offense? I do. So, yeah, I think they do. I think good drivers are good drivers who don't break the law. Simply Shop says, what if it's my property? What if I'm stunt driving on my own property? Ownership doesn't exempt you from the rules. The only place you can stunt drive, and that's a number of different things, it's a licensed track, whether it be go-kart track or motor vehicle track, or a sanctioned event that is licensed, like Indy on the road. They can do it because it's an event that's officially being held. What is this? Okay. People talking about water guns. A learner's permit is a G1. A lot of discussion here. So much cool stuff. Okay. Bradley Hood says, so if a farmer has 1,000 acres, they can't dirt drift in the middle of a field. Makes no sense. Actually, farmer's field are specifically listed as places you cannot stunt drive. And it's really intended for folks who are holding meets and events and taking it to an extreme. I can tell you that we're not hanging out in your farmer's field, but if there's reports that people are doing it, then absolutely police are going to get involved. I see so many people with front license plates in the front windshield, James says, and that's all illegal. It has to be properly displayed in the front of the vehicle. Would you ticket someone for using their phone at a stop if it's required for their job, like Uber? Yeah, I would, because they're not legally required or to drive while texting. Their requirements are to respond in order to take a job. So pull over, wait for a job, then drive. If you're aimlessly driving around while texting or using your phone, you're still putting people at risk. And it's not required for your job. You're choosing to engage in a job. So sit parked somewhere, accept the job, and then begin to drive. That would be the safe way to do it. There's no exemption for you as an Uber driver. So I would still ticket them for not paying attention to the road, for utilizing their handheld communication device as it's very specifically outlined in the HTA. Interesting question. If someone was being attacked and like physically, and the scenario they gave is a woman be attacked by a possible rapist, could you use bear spray and would you still be charged? Yeah, you'd probably still, technically, you'd probably get arrested. Scenario is going to be different every time, and this is not my area of expertise, but chances are they probably get charged, and then they'd have a way to articulate their actions in court, and the judge would decide what to do with it. I'm giving a very, you painted me in a corner there, but that the deal is you're still using something illegally. It's a weapon of opportunity, let's say, and there's a way to go there legally, but they'd still have to go there. It's not a police officer's decision to say, I'm just not going to charge you. Okay. So much conversation. Normally, I'm not looking at the chats. This is really slow compared to normal. My apologies. What are the rules about police coming onto private property to issue tickets? They can come onto private property to issue tickets. We go knock on the door and say hello, and then we'll serve you. What's going on here? Vehicle Valley, James. There needs to be better advertising for new license suspension for using phones while driving. It's not new. It's been around for years. Suspensions on conviction have been since the latest update when the fines went up to $615. When did that come into play? It's got to be a few years. But we talk about it on a regular basis. No one should be using their phones. It doesn't matter how much the price is. It shouldn't be that we've my God, it's close to 10 years, if not longer, that we've had cell phone charges available. And even before then, careless driving was appropriate. So if you're using your phone and are you saying to tell people because it's a deterrent? I don't think people care. It was $125, $150. Like it kept going up and up and up, and no one's changed their behavior. And constantly talked about in the media. We talked about that. Yes, even on your private property, you can get in trouble for stunting. Edmund says, I never answered their question. I didn't see your question. But I think people just ask me this, like say that just as like to poke and say that I don't answer them, but I do my best to answer all of them. Doesn't always work. With which M license can I drive a two-wheel sports motorcycle? And then we talked about that earlier. An M license lets you drive any motorcycle, two or three-wheel. Has to be insured. There's other requirements. Now, an M1 has restrictions. An M2 also does. Okay. We are at time. I've had fun. Actually, it's been stressful. Yeah. Here's Edmund asking, if you're in an HOV lane and there's slow-moving vehicle but no exit, what do? You sit where you are. You don't pass. You don't cross the double line in order to pass the vehicle. Slow-moving, the HOV lane is not a speed lane. It is a lane that is designed to go faster than stop traffic. When it's an absolute gridlock situation, the people in the HOV lane can travel safely. And you should always, even if it's empty, you should maintain no more than a 20-kilometer-an-hour speed differential than as a guide to the traffic that's stopped or moving slowly. Because what happens, I saw a crazy video. This was one where there was stop traffic and someone decided to jump into the HOV lane and start accelerating from a stop. And then they were promptly rear-ended by a high-speed truck that was in the HOV lane. People misuse the HOV lane. You stick where you are until there's a place to safely, get in or out. All right. So I've gone over time a little bit, but it's really been a slow go for me because I'm running solo here. Adam says, thanks, Sean. Always have a good time on these TikTok lives. Wish I could do more to help. Well, thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Okay. Going back a bit. OC transportation. All right. I'm going to keep, if I don't look away, I'm going to keep reading, and I got to go. But I do want to play the traffic song because I love the traffic song. Where's the traffic song? Here we go. I'm going to go into my, I put it in pictures, videos. Where did I store it? Pictures? Yeah, there it is. Let's play the traffic song. So this is written and performed by a police officer here at Traffic Services. There's a new song coming out. We're having a lot of fun with it. So hope you enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Are you saying there's no music playing right now? Is that not routing properly? Hang on a second. Am I just like silly staring at the screen assuming that it's working? That makes no sense. Hang on a second. Really? That was a fail. Let's see if we can fix this. Chat channel. Really? Oh, that's why. Okay, I got you. Let's change this. That's embarrassing. Does that mean nobody heard Jerry Agar this morning? No, Jerry Agar would have been coming in through. Really? No, that would have worked. Okay, let's try this. And hang on. Well, this has just not gone the way we thought it was going to go. All right, we'll try this. Now do we have sound?
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
We out.